Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the worst reviews ever. Got myself in here, sophisticated jerk, Mason, and KC Fred in here looking fly, looking like one of the young boys out here. Got the
Man,
jacket on.
I'm trying to keep up with y'all. Plus, it's been cold in these streets, so you know the
I
deal.
feel you, man. I'm just glad you got rid of that Chiefs garbage.
Hey, it's still coming back. It's still coming back. Don't get
Oh,
it
it's coming
twisted.
back, huh? All right. But all right, today we'll go ahead and jump into the review. So today we're going to be reviewing a movie that just came out, Kraven. So let me go ahead and pull the slides up. So Kraven the Hunter is a 2024 American superhero film featuring the Marvel comic character of the same name. So Kraven's complex relationship with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravinoff, starts him down a path of vengeance with brutal consequences, motivating him to become not only the greatest hunter in the world, but one of the most feared. So directors and producers. So directed by J.C. Kandar, produced by Avi Arad, Matt Talmach, and David Householter. So the cast on this movie, Aaron Taylor Johnson as Kraven, Arena DeBose as Calypso, Fred Hertzender as Dmitry Kravinoff / the Chameleon, Christopher Abbott as the Foreigner, Alessandro Nivola as Oleski, aka the Rhino, Russell Crowe as Nikolai Kravinoff, Morant Seven, whatever, as Omar, and Yuri as Samon Corny. Yeah, so they had a little bit of the foreign spin on there, but I got through it a little bit. So, all right, we'll go ahead. I'm going to play the trailer real quick, and then, we'll get to the ratings. Give me 1 second. What's good, Wally?
What's going on, guys?
My son, we are hunters, the greatest the world has ever known.
Охотник, это сказки.
Сказки, правда.
Who's next?
I heard the noise of thunder.
Are you like your father? A gangster? A killer?
And I heard a voice. And behold, hell followed with him. There's a man going round taking names. My son. And he decides who to free and who to blame. There's an animal stronger than you can imagine. The hairs on your arm will stand up.
Tell me about this hunter.
Some are born and some are dying.
Once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
When the man comes around. When the man comes around. Whoever is unjust.
You think you're some kind of honor? Some kind of code?
He'll be unjust too.
You're just another man
Whoever is righteous.
hunting for a trophy.
Let him be righteous too.
Just like our father.
When the man comes around. When the man comes around. Embrace who you really are, son. And you will become a legend. When the man comes around. When the man comes around.
All right. We'll get to the rating. So we'll go ahead. We'll start from the bottom. So Wally, we're gonna kick it off with you today. What's your rating for the movie?
So, unlike everybody else out there in the world that's crying about this saying it's trash, I do not see nothing wrong with this at all. Actually, this is more better than what most people are talking about, honestly, in my opinion, because just how much of basic knowledge that I took in and researched on in scope based upon how certain things were made. Personally, I give it a 7.5.
Okay. So Wally's in a very good territory. All right, amazing.
Finally, I can agree with somebody at least on the panel. I actually was going with 7.5 also. I really enjoyed the movie.
All right,
Okay,
all right. We
this
got two 7.5s. All right, Casey, Fred, Mr. Low Score lately.
Actually, you picked an action film, so I actually enjoyed it. And so I gave it a 7.52, but I didn't know everybody else was going to say the exact same number. I know it came out in 2024, and at the box office, it didn't do too well, but it's been doing awesome on Netflix. In fact, it became number 2 in the nation, and action is where I'm at. And then plus, I actually saw this in the comic books, and they stayed true to even the design of the character and the way he looked at the very end is exactly, there's a picture of him on the cover on the magazine of the comic books in Marvel. So I just thought it was really good, and I enjoyed it.
All right. So I got to be the outlier today.
Ain't this funny? Ain't this funny?
No, I gave it an 8.1.
Oh,
So
you
went
there with it. Okay. Oh, interesting.
I really like this
you
movie.
was talking about being an outlier. I thought you was gonna go tink down. Okay.
Nah. I like this one. I thought this was. So all right, well, Wally, we'll go first, and I'll go after you.
All right, cool. So I gave mine a 7.5. Why did I give this rating? Personally, like I said before, out of all other Marvel adaptations, the Madam Webs, the Morbius, and any others that are out there, this was actually probably their best one in a long time. I ain't gonna lie to you. I personally believe this is the best one on a long time. I know people gave this like a 5.4 or whatever they gave it. Personally, I think most of y'all are just blind, or neither you just don't know Marvel that much to a degree of this. Now, granted, was everything in it was true to the comics to a degree? Not quite, but small different things. You're always gonna get something different when it comes to movie adaptations. But personally, just the scenario of bringing up the origin stories of Kraven and everything, this was true to his character, his location that he was, occupating in and living, pretty much true to his story. Overall synopsis of just coming like this hunter, sort of the same. The fact that the two brothers, I mean, granted, in comics, they're technically, they're not blood brothers exactly, but they are like half brothers. So in the comics, they sort of like different, differentiate that a little bit and say they're like full brothers, I think, give or take. But yeah, so what else is there? Overall, I just love the idea of the story, like his upbringing to it. Like, I know a lot of people were, very pissed about the whole lion bite and like, oh, the lion bite is what gave him his powers. If anyone did some real research, it's still the same way. The lion bite was just an added small twist, which was actually poetry in motion. Because guess what? That same lion is the same damn lion he's wearing up that coat towards the end. Ain't that something? So I think it was very much poetry in motion the way they did it. And I actually, it was probably the most very smart, keen play towards the end. Because he comes to that same room that his father was in, notice that the lion's head's gone, opens that box, and what's in it? The same lion head, but now in clothing. I that right there is perfect for me, honestly, in my opinion. As far as the actor and the actress's performance, that stuck out. Definitely, the actor that played Calypso was very nice. I liked her scenery and her moments in the movie, especially from her growth spurt coming into it. Especially that one scene when she did that killer moment, like just coming in, like hiding whatever she was hiding, and she just came in there, bow and arrow, then blowing up the foreigner. So nice shot overall. But the character that played Kraven, he played him very well. I actually loved his character. He looked pretty much like Kraven overall, and they played this very keenly to a high degree. What else is there? Yeah, most of the performance that really stuck out was just more so of his, like, as far as his acting and you know, getting out there in action, because he was really the top notch. Also the actor that played the foreigner, his was pretty nice, because I didn't know too much of the foreigner, but after doing some digging, I was like, okay, yeah, he lived up to every power that he had, because he was definitely good what he was doing. He lived up to it very well. But to speak on just a little bit more keenly on scenes, one of the very more impactful scenes, like I said, going back to the movie, was Calypso talking to her grandmother, and you know, she was having those, you know, tarot cards, right? And technically, Calypso in comics is a voodoo priestess, or she's a voodoo priestess in training. In this case, in this movie, she's a lawyer, so technically, they didn't really sell her exactly to her her image, but she still holds the merits of things that her grandmother cherished, as far as holding on to, like, the little bottle of, you know, thing that constantly gives Kraven his powers overall. What's the other scenery? The other scene, the line. I think between Kraven and the line was, like, again, I say it's like poetry in motion at the start, because at the end of the day, the coat that he wears is literally a lion, but the bonding and the connecting in this, the eyesight was very thing. And it's like, if the father didn't get in the way, you never know what could have been right then and there. But the fact that, you know, you end up getting Calypso and the grandmother talking about this moment where she's going to need this little bottle to give to somebody that needs it more than her, or you're just in need of it. Then the lion bits the son, bits Kraven, takes Kraven somewhere else, noticingly in the right spot where Calypso's going to be magically out of nowhere, and then saves his life, gives him the card, and constantly tries to find her back, which brings back the connection between those two through that card, because he has to smell her out and to closely try to track her down as much as possible. And, you know, everything else of that nature. So, you know, it was a very much a lot of true factors. I think the main thing that a lot of people are probably going to be pissed about this is not the legendary hunter that's, you know, the villain or the vigilante. He is, quote unquote, Kraven the Hunter with some moral compass. So, right, you know, that's sort of like the thing. I think that's mainly anything else, because other than that, I think personally this is really a solid movie overall. If I was the right, and then, you know, they added multiple different concepts. You know, you eventually find out the brother becomes Chameleon, aka, which he is in the comics, right? So they already sold that part of the story towards the end. You know, Rhino, of course, was a little bit different, but of course, like all things, everyone's going to be something in this whole thing. But even then, it's like, to the degree of what you got, as far as like one of those muscle bound characters with, you know, that suit, I mean, it's pretty much better than anything. I mean, the rough skin of a Rhino and everything else, I'm not mad about the whole complexion of how they did it. The only thing is, I will say though, they didn't have to kill him, because again, how the hell are you supposed to sell a quote unquote Spider Universe in Sony and yet you kill off a freaking Rhino? But then again, I guess if you call it the multiverse, it's just one burst of the universe that they're in, quote unquote, right? But yeah, if I was the director and producer, I wouldn't really change nothing. I think this was perfectly sold. Like I said, every other part you think of in this whole movie was played key, because again, you still got the elements, just small tweaks and changes overall. Like, granted, Rhino, Kraven don't have a rivalry. That's just part of the story that they sold, just to show you off the characters. Small change, but still was convincing. Because again, let's be real, Kraven had a fight somewhere, right? Who else? So Rhino's pretty much decent, other than that little, you know, that little spot hole that still was relevant that he can able to wound. But hey, every target has a wounded spot, right? So at the end of the day, would I recommend this movie to anybody? Yes. Do not believe the freaking naysayers. They don't know what they talking about. They didn't did enough research. They didn't look back. Watch that movie.
All right. So what was my rating? I gave it an 8.1 in excellent territory. And the reason I gave it a 8.1, one thing I think Marvel's doing good is, like, they're picking out characters that, like, if you look at DC, it's, I don't know how many times they're gonna remake Superman and you know, their main characters. And I think like Marvel's good at like taking that risk and, you know, going to some of the characters that might not be like on the magnitude of a Wolverine or something, but they'll, go with the storyline and push that out. So I'm just glad to see different characters and stuff. Like Wally said, they drifted a little bit from the comics because he was pretty much a straight villain in the comic books. So I like how he's kind of in the middle somewhat, so they could take it multiple different I say directions in the future, because he's a big antagonist for Spider-Man in the comic books. So I definitely like to see some of that in the future. The plot and the storyline, actually, they kind of rushed, I think, the plot and the storyline. I still like it because it shows how Kraven came into there. So I think that was good about the storyline. But I do think like towards the end, they rushed it with the Rhino and all that. And I, like Wally said, if just jumping into the director and producer of the movie, what would I change? I wouldn't have, made the Rhino and Kraven fight at that moment. Like, you could have introduced them into the underworld, but showed a flash of what he could do, but like some way break that up where it could have carried on to like the second part of the movie where, like the brother, like, since he's going into the underworld as the chameleon, they tag up, and that's where Kraven's got to fight him. You know what I'm saying? So I think they could have like slowed up that storyline and just let him fight the foreigner. Make the foreigner come at him, and he's going against his father and the mob type thing.
Yeah, they did come foreigner too.
Yeah. So it's just like I don't think they had to put the Rhino in there yet. But like Wally said, I think they can bring him back. Yeah, so this plot and the storyline, I thought it was good just because, like I said, it captured the beginning, how he came to that point. But towards the end, was a little rushed. But the action, was so tough that, it made up for it. And like I said, they just did a great job, I think, with Kraven's character, where he's not too, it's kind of like Captain America. Like, they got the agility and all that, but they don't got like all these over-the-top superpowers and stuff. So it's just like, they could still get hurt. They could get flawed. They have some flaws and stuff. So I do like those type of characters where it's like they ain't overpowering everything. So I think they did a good job just taking that risk.
Yeah, I think that's probably.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. What was
but like I think that's probably why I couldn't really sell it like past like 7.5 or anything else above. Like, because the thing is like, you're pretty much carrying, like, you're taking off characters that should just still be in there. It's like, okay. It's like, because I could see, like, on the other flip side, it's like, oh, come on. What's the point of bringing in characters only just to knock them off? It's like, yeah, they got a point there. I would say they had a point if that's one of their gripes, because I don't think so. Like, you should just, you should have wounded the foreigner and keep the foreigner alive, like, at a later point. And it's like, the foreigner just walks off and trying to keep being alive. And then the Rhino, he'd be wounded, but not wounded to the point that he can't live. Like, he's still living, but he just got to be taken away, or and get his meds to calm him down and get locked up. So, but they didn't have to go to that extent though.
Yeah, unless the chameleon brings it back or something. Somebody brings Rhino back. So yeah, if they do that. But I would say like the scenes and performances stuck out. Definitely Kraven. I think he did a good job with that. And that first scene, I thought that was tough when he was in the prison, where he kind of showed like his capabilities and sneaking in there and then, just taking off in that snowstorm. So I thought that was a tough beginning scene and stuff. And, just towards the end where they went to his home and how that kind of played out, I was like, I thought they did a lot with the action, the special effects. So definitely tough, solid movie all around. So I'll go ahead. I'll toss it to Casey Fred. Oh, I would recommend this to people. So definitely check this one out. But go ahead, Fred.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed this too. One of the things that I've been loving lately is when they put somebody in the movie that is so strong that it's just like, oh, he's going to be in it. Oh, I definitely want to see that. And that was Russell Crowe. Like, I've seen him in Gladiator, which we've seen that he was also played the father in The Man of Steel. So he was Superman's father in that movie as well. So when you realize that he was going to be Kraven's dad in this, I was just like, and he had such a strong role in this and stuff, and he's trying to shape his sons. I thought that was really cool. And so you see the family you know, the family dynamic in there where they're really all of a sudden he's trying to raise his boys, and he was like, you know, what happened to mom? And they both got picked up from school. Well, you know, she committed suicide, so you know she was weak. Well, we going to the funeral? Oh no, when you there is no funeral for you. You know, we're going to go hunting. This is what we're going to do. And so it was just like he was trying to shape his own sons. And then I just thought that was really like, you don't, I know the rich does that, but most American people, you know, they go to the funeral, they'll have the cremation, they'll have whatever it needs to be to pay their respects. But it was just different in this one. And you just kind of saw all that. I enjoyed the plot and the storyline of how he was becoming Kraven. And I like how all of a sudden, you know, a rich family, most of the kids, they'll stay with their parents. They're not going to leave their money. They're not going to just wander off. But in this particular movie, he wanted to all of a sudden not be like his father and go on his own. And he wanted to be able to have his own journey. And it was like his brother was like, "You going to leave me?" And he was like, "Well, go on then, go on," which all of a sudden he ends up regretting that. But if he does come back to be able to find him later, especially after he's being kidnapped and everything. So I like how all of a sudden it kind of reminds you of a Lion King, where all of a sudden Simba grows up and all of a sudden wants to be his own lion. In this case, this is Kraven here, who all of a sudden gets these special powers. And I have to give it to Marvel that they really, the special effects I love. I mean, when you get this big old snowstorm that's there at the beginning of the scene, and somehow he's able to run right through it. And then with his eyes turned, because there's this wolf that happens to be there, and he's able to sense him, smell him. And then all of a sudden his eyes change colors and lets the wolf know, like, this is not what you want. And the wolf was like, it turns into like a little dog or something. I was like, you're not this ferocious wolf no more, because you see somebody bigger and stronger. And then they had the plane that happened to be right there, which was his getaway vehicle for him to go ahead and take off. And they flew right out of the storm. I thought the special effects was just like really cool. This kind of leads me into some of the scenes. The scenes I thought was fantastic. Just his climbing ability, and then how he was able to maneuver on walls and stuff like that, and his strength. I'm trying to remember the girl's name. What's her name? Cora? I can't remember. You know, the one that gave her the potion when she was little, and then he finds her. Was that her name? Anybody help me?
Calypso, wasn't it?
Calypso, was that her name? Okay. So Calypso, I thought it was very funny when all of a sudden he gets hurt. He's really badly hurt by Thorn and everything. And I hope I'm not mixing it up or whatever. But the bottom line is he had been she actually has the bottle, a bigger bottle than the first time of what she gave him when they were both little. And so, he thought that she didn't have none. And well, of course she lied and had a bigger bottle. And then all of a sudden she gives it to him, and then he's back up to full strength. And so I just thought that was cool, in their relationship and stuff like that and everything. And you realize that he needed her and she needed him, and she had networks and contacts for him to be able to keep doing what he needed to do. And they kind of help each other, especially to be able to find his brother, who, like you said, Wally, ends up being the comedian at the end, because he was trying to find himself. And then when he realized that, hey, you know, I do want to be able to be important. Everybody seems to be important in this family except for me, and I want to be important too. So he takes over the family business, which that's not what Kraven wanted for him. But hey, you know, he told him that, hey, everybody's chasing some kind of trophy. I mean, that's what hunters do. And I want to be the same way. So I just thought that was really cool. Is there anything I would change as far as director or producer in the movie? I'm kind of like you guys. I would want to be able to lead the end where all of a sudden you could just tell it was going to be another movie after this. And like I said, I know it didn't do well at the box office, but it did exceptionally well on Netflix. And so I know this is kind of like this character is more centered around Spider-Man. So in a sense, it's more everybody's waiting for the new Spider-Man movie to come out and everything is centered around him. But I kind of hope that you would kind of like take this to the next level and get another Kraven 2 to come out. Because I really thought it was good. The action flowed, even though it was a 2-hour movie, it didn't really feel that way. It felt like really probably about 90 minutes, but it was fast. And I would have to agree with you, Jerk, that it felt like at the end, it kind of felt rushed. So, but at the end of the day, the way the action was, you just kept craving more and more. And so, but I wish they would have took their time as far as the fight scenes and all of a sudden say, okay, this is the villain we fighting and we're going to beat them down here and then save the next villain for the next movie. Would I recommend this movie? Yes, I'm an action junkie. I love action. And this was plenty of it from the beginning all the way to the end. And so it was definitely enjoyable. And that was pretty much it for me. Like I said, I really liked the movie. Way better than the last two. So this is the highest score probably of the month. So
But all right, amazing.
So I gave a 7.5. I've never read a comic book, I don't think, in my entire life, but I've seen little bits and pieces. But I thought that was one of the reasons that it was so good, because after I watched the movie, I was shocked and a little sad in my heart to learn that Kraven was actually a villain, because I felt like if you don't know anything and you just see that movie, he's like the good guy in the movie. I will say though, like right at the very beginning, I knew that Dimitri was going to end up as I knew right away, okay, this is about to be a good brother, bad brother situation. Like he just looked like a little creeper to me right from the very beginning.
You didn't know shit. Sorry.
I mean, I will say this though. The one, because at first I didn't know Kraven even had a brother, let alone a half brother, and I didn't know that his brother was going to be Chameleon. But it's funny, they were selling that every single time through the whole movie, because how he's doing his little voice change.
Mm-hmm.
That was always the selling point. Like, oh yeah, he's Chameleon.
Oh, so yeah, because I didn't know the background, but yeah, that would make the voices were awesome. I just thought the whole thing was really good. So plot, storyline, I can't necessarily give input how it goes according to the comic books or the the overall I guess foundation of however everybody fits together, but I did like it a lot. And I also thought it went by super quick, and it was a long movie, so I had actually even started at one night thinking I'll watch half of it now and then the other half tomorrow, just because it was already getting close past my bedtime. And I ended up staying up the whole time to watch it, just because I wanted to see how it ended. And then I started even Googling different things, and that's how I found out all of these different connections. So I like the plot and storyline. I really liked the way, I thought it gave enough information with the flashbacks as far as the brother relationship, the relationship with the dad, and then how it showed kind of their anger and resentment toward the dad because of the mom situation. And it just gave just enough of those flashbacks throughout to kind of show what was going on. Even with Calypso as a child and her grandmother and how that was all kind of brought into each other. I also really liked the beginning scene, and that was one thing. It was just good scenes throughout the whole movie. So from beginning to end, it was just enough action, just enough drama and different connections. I also really liked, Fred, you had mentioned the his eyes and the different way they did kind of the different the animals. I thought I really liked the way they just did the animal scenes and how they were kind of the animation they did with that. If I was the director producer of the movie, what would I change or do differently? I don't think I would change or do anything differently, because I felt like it was definitely open enough to know so many more storylines could come from this, which makes sense with it being the comic book thing. I did think about, once I had found out later when I was reading up on different things about Kraven's relationship, or I guess how he ends up killing Spider-Man. So I thought that was kind of interesting at the end of the movie when he has, like, that was all those spiders and that was like his hallucination that he was kind of scared of and trying to get him off of them. So I just kind of thought that was neat. And I would definitely recommend the movie.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead, get to the last rating. So we'll start with Wally again. You're gonna go up, down, or stay the same?
Yeah, like I said, I'm staying the same 7.5. Like I said, they didn't really need to kill Rhino, didn't really need to kill the Foreigner. I think, again, if you're trying to build up something, keep those heroes alive. But again, you know, when you're quote unquote in a subdivision universe, I guess you can do what you want, but didn't really not needed to knock off those characters, especially because if you ever do a Rhino movie, well, how are you gonna do a Rhino movie when you just killed him in freaking Kraven? So there is no extensioning things apparently, right? So problem right there. Yeah, but nonetheless, pretty solid, pretty good. Like I said, all of it was pretty much good towards the end. Definitely could have fixed a lot of the fight scenes a little bit more to be a little bit more in depth and leave that window open for some part of life. But I think, like, even something I know I forgot to add, because the funny thing about it is, as much as Kraven is trying to walk away from his father's footstep, he's actually walking right into it. And that's somewhat why he becomes who he becomes the way he is. Because the hunt for whoever his target is, well, his father hunt animals, but in this case, he's hunting, humans. And I guess that factuation with Spider-Man is pretty much the same thing. Hunting someone that is somewhat like him, a mutated, entity with some powers and strength and that challenge. So eventually that villainous within him is going to kick in. But this one from the start, it was pretty nice.
All right. Amazing. You going to stay the same, go up, go down?
I'm going to stay the same.
All right. Casey, Fred.
Same. I'm going to keep it right there.
All right. Everybody staying the same today. I'm staying the same also. Mine's already high, so I'm staying up there. But all right. Yeah, this was a good movie, man. I definitely like this one. Like Wally was saying, the ratings being low in this one. I think people just sometimes they expect. I think they're too used to some of the old characters, man. Where I guess I liked it because they moving from the traditional ones. They're mixing it up some. So I thought it was pretty good, man. A lot of action. Go ahead, Amazing.
Also, I was gonna say it sounds very, because I guess I'm more critical. Because I always try to watch remakes of movies of books that I've read, and I think sometimes people just get stuck on the
That's true.
kind of the way it's varied from the book to the movie, and this kind of seems similar when you guys are talking about the comics, just that variation. I think some people just get so hooked on this is the way it's supposed to be because of whatever, that they just can't get past kind of like the little differences.
They can't. And the thing is, the difference is so small. Like, again, the Rhino and Kraven, of course, that's not true. Like, there is no rivalry between them and all that. That's just an added piece that they just throw it in there. So I get that part. But as far as Kraven getting his powers, still factual. The line was just a nice add-on. But, again, poetry in motion. All the other things you can pick and choose.
Yeah, because I was also surprised when I was reading. I honestly was shocked that people were saying the reviews weren't that great also. I was super surprised about that. But again, it makes sense when you think about how people just get so stuck in their...
All I know is I don't see how they say that this is actually the worst one between, even when it comes to like Morbius and Madam Web. I would actually put Morbius dead last at this point between those three movies.
I actually liked Morbius.
I was okay with Morbius, but in comparison to, like, if you're talking about Morbius, Kraven, and then Madam Web, no.
Oh yeah, no, this was better than those. Morbius, but like I said, I think people want the superhero to like I said, be on a Superman magnitude, and it's just like, man, nah, I like these like simpler ones that. Yeah, so. But all right, y'all, keep tuning in. Definitely check this one out. Let us know if we wrong. And
I
peace.
say it like this: no one doesn't want to see a Kraven TV show, because if it happened, they'd have been like, "This is too slow. Where's the action?" Well, we'll pick a side, motherfucker. Pick a side.
Shout out to Wally. Wally ain't having it. But all right, y'all, keep tuning in. Peace.